All right, so I'm at Clackacraft here in Clackamas, Oregon, with Jake. And, I thought it was kind of a neat deal that he's going to put a washdown pump in his power drifter here. You're not going to see a lot of power drifters with washdown pumps in them, but this boat's got everything on it, so we might as well put a washdown pump on it. But, regardless of what kind of boat you have, if you might want to, install a new washdown pump, or if it's never had one, put one in. And so Jake's going to show you how to do it. So what do we got here for a pump?
So we've got, it's a good size pump. There's several different sizes, range probably around 3.5 to 5 gallons. I also ordered a 5-gallon one as well. This is a Johnson pump, SPX AquaJet, washdown 3.5. So it's a system. It pretty much comes with everything you need. The pump, it's a good size pump, so for a little bit smaller boat, it's good, because some of the bigger pumps for the other models could be a little larger, so you got to find placement for those pumps. Where this one, being a little bit smaller, still good pressure on it. It's a great model for a boat like mine, which is a 17-foot boat, limited space in the boat. It works really, really well. So I was going to show you real quick here. When you get your AquaJet SPX Johnson pump here, it's going to come, I kind of took this one apart already, so I set it back in here to show you guys, but it's going to come with a manual, which is good to go through your manual, check it out. Best thing you can do, what I'd like to do, is get my workbench out, grab my pump out of here, set all my stuff out, because it can come with several different parts. A lot of the parts are just depend on how you're going to use it and what you're going to use it with. So lay everything out here for you. Here's the pump itself. You can see it's not a large pump. It can fit in a lot of different boats, even a little small mom and pop type John boat, 12 to 14 foot boat. You can find nice placement for this, maybe underneath the rower's bench or a seating bench, or back here in a transom. Water resistance as well. But it's always nice to find a spot where you can keep it out of the weather if you can. And then you got some other options here too. You got your nozzle here, which will connect to a hose. This is set up so you can buy a hose, or you can just buy a hose itself and set this on here as well. And that's why you got these different options. This will be used for the pump here. So lay all your stuff out here. You can see it comes pretty much with everything you need to go. If you wanted to buy one of the coil type hoses, this is one I have from another pump system. You can pick up one of these. Some of these kits do include these. I know that if you order them that way, you can get this as well. It's just kind of a coil hose. Maybe it stretches out 10 to 12 feet. And then what we're going to do on our particular boat is pick up some of the bilge hose like this. And this is what you'll do, is to take the water from the river itself or lake from the outside of the boat. I'm actually not going to do a hole through type. I'm going to actually hang this over the transom of my boat. Being that it's a jet boat, I don't want to have a hole through fitting on the outside where I may bump it on the bottom of the river and break it. So I got a little trick I'll show you guys what I do on my jet boat. So you'll need to get some of this bilge hose. It does not come with this particular kit. You can pretty much find it at any of your marine suppliers or online, I'm sure. So this is a 3/4 hose here for this kit. So it's just a bilge, they call these bilge sewer hose. So something similar to that would work real well for you. So other than that, your kit's going to come complete. You may need to get some brackets and different things I picked up here. I'm going to run this over the transom off my motor bolts. So I got some of these brackets here, and I'll show you guys what I plan to do with that, along with this hole through fitting I'm going to use on mine off a plate on the bottom of my boat. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this and show you guys what we're going to do here. Again, great pump system here. AquaJet 3.5, good size. A lot of people say go bigger, but you just need enough to wash your boat down and get maybe some blood, hopefully some blood and egg stains off your boat, or just to rinse it out when you're done at the end of the day. So good system, good size. I'm gonna go from there.
Now, if this was like a ocean-going boat or a bigger boat, not a jet boat, say, you're probably going to want to drill a hole most of the time down on the side of the boat here, right? Or down...
Yeah, below the water line. I've even seen them on some of the bigger offshore boats. Obviously as they round down, you'll see a graded hole-through sit fitting. Meaning this is kind of your basic hole-through fitting, like for more of a bilge. For a smaller boat, it'll be something similar to this. They're kind of sometimes oval shaped, and they'll have a kind of a light screen on them, more for like catching like leaves and debris. Your pump will come with an actual screen like this guy here, and that's for catching smaller debris. Anything smaller than that screen's probably not gonna hurt the pump. Maybe over time, get a little sand through there, could wear a little bit, but typically this is where you're gonna catch any debris. So in our circumstance, we're gonna use one of these. It's a little different, and we're gonna mount it on our plate down below.
Yeah, because this is a jet boat, so you're hitting the bottom a little bit, and then you're going to put it in a place to avoid damage, and it's kind of a cool.
Yeah,
I think I see what you're going to do here. So.
Yeah, and I did one in the past. Not as fancy as this, and I just kind of had the hose going over here. That's what I'm going to use some brackets for here to hold these the whole through. My goal is not to drill any more holes in the boat if I don't have to. A lot of people may disagree with me doing this way, but I think it's the best way to do it with a jet boat is to you know, not drill a hole through something and create damage, because you know, these are plastic hole through fittings. They do sell some brass ones and stuff, but you know, you want to keep that boat nice and flat. We go in really shallow water with this boat, so I've hung them over like this. But this one, actually, one of my techs at the shop showed me this trick. He just did one, a Johnson pump on a boat that just went out to a customer. And what he did is, this is a 90 here, but he had it straight through, and we went ahead and mounted it to our plate down here, which sits above the bottom of the boat. So I'm going to drill a hole right here in my plate. That'll be a pickup for my hose. My hose is going to go directly down to it, nice and clean with my brackets holding it here. I'm going to sneak it right over the top of the transom, and it's going to come with the Magnum power drifter here, right down inside here, through the side of the box here, and then into my compartment here. This compartment I utilize for many things. It's got our little subwoofer in here we have on this boat, and it's got our amplifier down here for the subwoofer, and it also has our bilge down here. Our bilge pump's in the bottom of this box. So luckily I still have a little bit of room left on the transom here. That's why this little SPX comes in great, because it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. So I had to kind of look in here and see what my best placement would be. I'm going to go ahead and mount it to the transom of the boat. It fits real clean here next to my amplifier. I'll be able to take the hose and set it in there along with the nozzle. Everything will sit in here nice and clean out of the way. So just kind of got to find placement in your boat, what's going to fit best for you. Several options here. You know, they're kind of like out of here, out of the way. It's not above my bilge pump scupper there. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this and mount this pump here and show you guys how it's going to look. Going to mark a spot here on my transom plate here, my little induction plate. Just like that. Now I got my hole placed in there. I'm going to go ahead and get my hole through fitting that I have, my straight through one, and put it in there and get ready to mount my hose. So I got a little modified hole through fitting here to make it kind of a straight through. It was a 90 at one point. It's going to be okay though. I went ahead and modified that, take it off there. What I'm going to do with this guy, it's got two sides to it. Essentially it's adjustable depending on the depth of your boat. Another thing you kind of keep an eye out for too, they have different size hole through fittings. This is probably, you know, some of your bigger boats might take larger ones, but I think you can get up about an inch through the side of your boat, depending on what model boat you had and what style boat. This is probably going to work for most of your Northwest boats, aluminum boats, fiberglass boats, which will work just fine as far as thickness here. So with what I'm dealing with, it's about 1/4 inch, so I'm going to just go ahead and adjust it so this doesn't sit down. It sits more flush like that towards the bottom. So actually what I should do first though, get ahead of myself, it's easier to mount this hose onto my hole through fitting before I put this all on my plate here. So, and these can be fun at times, but I'm dropping stuff everywhere here. Make sure you got it in there real good, and then we're going to go ahead and probably put a clamp on this afterwards. So gives you adjustability from both sides, so I'll make sure on the bottom here I'm not too far through, and just kind of feeling that it's level there. And these actually are notched on both. Most of these hole throughs have little notches here, so it's plastic. You don't over tighten it, but you can get a you know, medium size crescent wrench. I'm not sure what size wrench that would be on there, and just hand tighten it. And now I got a nice spot to pick up water there on this boat. Nice and clean, out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and put some brackets on these now, so this hose is mounted real nice, flush against the transom, and we'll be good to go. So with this situation here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and utilize the remainder of the stud here on my engine mounts. You know, a guy could take these back one of these off one at a time and go ahead. I'm going to do something like that on mine and put this clamp here, you know, just because I have this bilge hose here, or pickup hose I should call it, and I'm going to go ahead and put these brackets in here. Which I got the bottom one pretty much done here. You can see that against there. The best move would probably be to get the right size nut right here and match this nut, and then I could utilize this same bracket this direction here and then back it instead of having to really disturb my engine mount bolts, because you want to make sure if you do one at a time and then put it back, tighten it up, and then you can do the second one here. You don't want to loosen them both at the same time because you could get that motor rocket on you. And this is a smaller boat, so it's okay to do that. Of course, if I had a larger boat, I'd never do it this way. But just, you know, find a spot to have the brackets put on here. It's going to hold my hose in place here. It's going to be nice and clean and tidy right there. Like I said, this is a little bit more customization, being that it's on my little jet boat here. So this is the way I feel the best way to do it on my boat is. You know, like I said, there's several options to do it on different boats as well. So, okay, all right. You got me sweating here, Justin. I was on the ground rolling around here getting this on here, so sometimes you gotta struggle with it a little bit. I got this, I had to readjust this a couple times. I wanted the nice fit finish here. I don't want that inside to hang too low, so I can feel it down here. It's nice and clean. I got some brackets around the side here. I'm trying to keep it as nice, as tidy as possible. And I'm gonna go ahead now and fold over the transom of the boat here. You see it's gonna stay nice and clean, and I'm gonna come through this box here. And then I'll mount the pump, and we'll go from there and start working on some wiring. I got a little hole saw kit. They're not very expensive. You can get them through any of your major retailers. You know, the different sizes. This I think is about an inch, 1 inch, maybe 1 inch and a quarter. Oh, 1 and 1/8. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and find the mark I'm gonna do. This particular boat has a wall here, so I'm gonna. It does have a wire feed hose in it, but it's nicer to keep this hose direct because less angles is going to be a little better and easier on the pump itself as well. So I'm going to go ahead and find my spot in here. I went ahead and kind of just marked the spot beforehand, and I'm going to go ahead and get her drilled here. And I'm going to double check everything here just because you always want to make sure I can feed my bit through there. Okay, we got her done. So I've got the hole down in there. I don't know if you can be able to see down there, but I'm going to go ahead and try to fit my hose here. I went ahead and cut this a little longer. I have the luxury of having a little longer hose here. You can, you know, tape measure out if you need to, but it's always good if you're going to purchase some of your pickup feed hose to take an extra foot just to be safe after you do your measurements. Never hurts to go a little over on that stuff. So go ahead and find it. Use my finger to kind of guide it through here. Pull it through. And I'll go through and clean this up, make sure it fits good in there. Now I got my hose where it needs to be for now. I may put another fastener in here. I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna wait to see where the pump goes. Sometimes I get a nice bit and maybe just do a one of my fasteners against the transom here. I got a thicker transom on here, so I'll pilot hold that and then go ahead and put a stainless screw in there to my pump. So, but for now, we got the hose ran. So that's a big part of the battle right there to get that done and find your placement on your hose. So. And one more thing you got to do with the Johnson pump, they do give you, you know, a fair amount of wiring here. You know, it's a very generous amount of wiring there, but odds are you're going to probably need a little extra wire depending on where the pump sits to attach to the pump itself. So I recommend a marine grade wire. They're tin coated, so they help with corrosion. This particular wire is a 14-2. It matches pretty much the size. I'm not real sure on this. This could be 16-2 or 14-2. You know, you want to kind of somewhat match the size of your wire depending on what it is, just because you don't want to burn up the wire or you know, blow fuses not having the correct size. So this wire is marine grade. It's made by Ancor. You can pretty much get it in your marine dealers around town and pick that up. You know, our marine shops typically will carry this Ancor wire, but it's very good to get the appropriate wire. Sometimes we just want to go to the garage and grab wire that's sitting around and make it work, but not all wire is the same, that's for sure. If you want longevity wise and you want to keep the pump functioning properly, get your right wire. So I went and cut a long enough piece for where I'm going to wire it, so I'm going to go ahead and get going on the feeding of the wire now. So I have my pickup tube here, the intake tube, and my wire ran, and then it'll make it real easy once I get my pump mounted to go ahead and attach all these together and make the pump work. So with the Clackcraft Magnum Power Drifter, my boat here, a little bit simpler. It's pretty close together, everything here. My battery's on the opposing box on the other side of the boat here. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through. I do have some other wiring down here, and I'll probably zip tie them together. I may have to pull my fuel tank back on the boat a little bit to get to that. But I'm going to go ahead and run this wire now. I'll feed it back to my fuse panel switch, which has got a fuse on it, and go from there. Okay, so your kit's also going to come with a 1/2-inch hose bib. This is to connect your pump to your intake hose. We happen to have, so you can use 1/2-inch or 3/4 ID on this, so that means inside dimension there. So we're going to go ahead and fit this. Obviously it's 3/4 there, I can see that, I know the hose size, but also if you were to use 1/2-inch hose, this pump would accept that as well, as they do send you these. So you probably, I won't use these particular ones, I'm going to go ahead and use these. So I went ahead and placed my my pump down there, kind of fitted where I think it's going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my hose now. Obviously I went a little long on it, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut, and then I'm going to go ahead and install my fitting on here, which will quick connect to the Johnson pump. So I'm using a pair of dikes there to do that, but it seems to work just good. Make sure I got it all cleaned up here along my edges. I think I'm just ready to go. These can be kind of a battle. I do the old school way, wet it down a little bit and just get it shoved in there, and I will put a clamp on that too. So I went ahead and fitted that for now, got it on there. And as you can see on these pumps, you're going to have two sides to these pumps, these quick releases here, real easy to install. I went ahead and set this side on here, but this is my hose feed to my spray nozzle. And see, I pulled it up there. This just sits in there and clips in. It's got a little rubber grommet there to keep it sealed. As you can see, there's two arrows on there. That's your outlet, that's your inlet. So water coming in, water going out. Pretty simple, straightforward there. So push that in, push that down, lock it in place. Same thing with this side. I'm not going to do it right this second because I'm going to go ahead and mount my pump, but you can see same thing. You're going to slide that back. You're going to clip it in here and clip it down. It's that easy. You can take it right back off too. But I got ahead of myself there a little bit. I have the screen filter too, so I'll have that first, and then I'll have this clip into the screen. Screen will actually clip onto here, and then this guy will clip onto the screen. So again, something you got to remember too, we have the safety screen there, which keeps any of the debris out of the actual pump itself. So that's that guy right here. Like that. And we'll fit everything down here. Okay, so I haven't mounted my pump yet. I kind of was questioning myself, which is good to do before I got busy drilling holes in my boat here. Being that I do have other components in here, you always got to find that spot where it's going to fit the best. And have the screen here where I can see the screen as well. As you can see now, I can kind of keep an eye on that screen too to make sure that it's not, and easy to get to the screen, because you don't want to mount it where you may be mounted too close to the wall and all of a sudden you're like, how am I going to get that screen off? So you want to make sure you have placement there to pop the screen off, and be able to clean it out too, and keep an eye on it. You know, it's good to maintain things. A lot of times you get busy and not think about that stuff, and we're like, why is our pump not working? Well, maybe because you have too much debris in there. It can happen just over time. So I can see that really good there, right next to my amplifier there. Everything's really easy to get to. It took me, a minute or two to sit here and move it around and see what was best, but I feel that's the best move right here. I got a second opinion to make sure I wasn't doing something backwards here. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this mounted now, and then I'll get to the wiring and plumb in the last part of that. So when you get your Johnson pump, it does come with some washers here, which is great. I had to kind of figure out what size screw I want to use on these for my particular application. These are number 10 screws by 2 inch. It's very important to use stainless on your boat too. I know a lot of times, again, we'll get the screws that we think need, or some screws you might have in a bench or a drawer or something. But get yourself some stainless. It'll save you a lot of trouble with rusting, and possibly this motor is going to create some sort of vibration too, so it could be hard on the screws, could break the screws. Even though they do have dampeners here, rubber dampeners, and you'll need to use these washers as well on top of these to keep those tight and secure. And I went ahead and fitted the screw I needed right there. My particular application, I am going to pilot hole the stainless screws. Stainless can be soft, as well. So you want to make sure, if you can do it, go ahead and pilot hole this, match up a drill bit. I kind of know which one I'm going to use on this. That's obviously smaller than your screw, and pilot hole these, and that'll be a lot easier on the screw, because a lot of times all of our new impacts and stuff are really hard on the stainless. You got your mounting position, you went ahead and got your screw started, you held your weight on it and you broke this off, it's going to really mess you up on your mounting position. So try to give yourself some room with drilling a pilot hole first, then that'll help you install these screws as well. And I went ahead also, another thing to keep in mind, if you are doing my situation and mounting it to a transom, think about your transom depth, and think about your depth of this as well as where your pump mounts, because you obviously do not want to drill completely through your transom. So that's a very important thing too on your boat placement, or into a fuel tank or other wiring. So try to find the best spot and think about your placement of your actual hardware. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Got the pilot hole done, and I'm not going to go too hard right now. You can see it kind of starts squishing the rubber a little bit. I'm going to leave it at that. If I had to back it off by hand or tighten it by the hand, that's probably the best bet at this point. Just use my cordless drill there to go ahead and get that started. I'm going to just double check everything here, make sure it looks level and kind of appeasing to the eye there. Sometimes you don't have space to actually get down there completely, so I'm happy with that though. So I'm going to go ahead and finish installing the rest of the screws. Alright, so I got my fancy wire strippers here. Well, they're not that fancy, but they're very handy. And I'm going to go ahead and get some of this cable off here. Sometimes this can be a little bit of a fight, but it seems so far it's working well for me here. Get it back far enough where I can get some connectors on it and get my distance here. I'm going to go ahead and wire this side, put a little bit of wire loom on it, and I'll pull it back towards my battery direction and keep it nice and clean. It's easier to do that sometimes because I got more room on that side to trim the wire down and keep this nice and clean over here. So I'll probably cut a little bit of their wiring back a little bit. It does come a little longer. Like I said, it's a very generous amount, but obviously you need to go a little longer on it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a cut right about there, so I can work right here with it, and then I'll put some wire loom on this guy, and away we'll go. These are pretty handy wire strippers. You get them out of your hardware stores. If you haven't seen it, set them before, you can just set them in there and see pop screws right there. Better than those old style ones where you're fighting the wire constantly. These are pretty handy. So got the power one ready to go there. If I need to trim a little shorter, I can. A little longer with them just to kind of get them set up to go in one of my butt connectors, which I'll show you next here. I'm a little long on that one there. You can kind of see it there. I'm going to just shorten that up just a hair. Give it a little bit. I got these nice connectors here. I get these through one of the hardware outlets here in town. There's 3 different sizes to get. If you're fortunate enough to get these are really nice, especially for marine. They're actually a heat shrink solder butt connector. Essentially, it'll goo on each end of this, and it'll also solder the wires together, which makes them really nice. They're a little bit more expensive. I figured they're probably around $1 a piece, but I'll tell you what, in the long run, time you keep corrosion out of any of these wiring, especially in a boat. You can see this boat's wet. We used it yesterday. It makes it a lot nicer. I just kind of found the right size here. You can see I carry 3 different sizes here. The one we're using is the blue one here, which is pretty much for like a I'd say 14.2 size to maybe 16.2 right in there. So if you couldn't fit something there, you can always go with a little bit larger one there. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on these and crimp this side here. Got that there. Still got to crimp them, even though they're a heat shrink. Find the right size there. Got it clipped down there. Feels good. I'll get the other side here. Again, I know these are a little long, so I'm going to go ahead and trim them. A little over probably 3/8 of an inch long there. Make sure they're going in there clean. Make sure no wire did that. See, they can fold back sometime on you. Nice and clean. Take your time with this wiring stuff, because it'll save you a lot of hassle over the years if you do it right. So I learned the hard way when I was younger, so this is the best way to do it. Get the right stuff and right tools. So I got that side done there, so I'm going to go ahead and work on this side. It's going towards my battery, and I'm going to go ahead and, now that I know it probably was a little long last time, I'm going to a little shorter there. A little shorter there. Feeling good about that. All right. Red's positive. Makes it pretty easy there on these guys. Got that there. Again, I'm just going to use my crimpers here. We got some color on there. Blue's blue, so I'm going to use that right there. Blue one. Another guy here. So I'm working with some heat and some fire here, so I'm gonna make sure I got a nice stable spot here. I'm not gonna burn myself. I gotta work this torch around this. I don't want to be on one spot because they will catch fire. I've done it on accident before. Get talking to somebody when I'm doing something, so I try to take my focus here and get this thing done right, so that way it's a good connection here. So my torch has a little lock on it, so it makes it kind of nice. See a little flame here. I'm just gonna come back and forth here. Just work this a little bit around and start seeing that guy shrink up. You can actually see it work its way up that line there. A little smoke's not going to hurt anything. You can actually see, if you look real close there, the dew coming out the end of that. So I'm going to hit the solder once I get both my ends done here, and you'll see how that works. So I'm going to get this guy watching my fingers. I don't burn anything, watching what's behind me there, so I don't burn the boat. Especially when I'm working on customer boats, I don't want to have a big burn mark on the top of their boat there. I think I'm pretty good there. I can always go back and hit it if I feel like I missed something. Now that really has a good grab on those wires too. So you can see the solder thing I really haven't done much with yet. I'm trying to do the best I can. Sometimes these want to work. I'm showing you, they might get a little. You just keep working it. Oh, you can start seeing it go there. And sometimes I grab their side because I don't want, it's like water, it's going to run one way. So I want to get this thing so it runs both directions real good. And you can kind of see that solder kind of did its job. It's working its way in there. And I'll flip it around a little bit. And you can see how that bubble is gone. It's down inside there. You can actually see it in here. It worked the solder here and into here. And that's a really good connection now. And no water's going to get in there because it actually got some glue that comes out both sides of that. So I'll do the next one now. Good connection there. Not worried about that one at all. And watching what's behind me there. Lots of room. There we go. We got a nice connection there. I'm going to pretty this up just so there's not bare wires like that. I mean, a guy could leave that alone. It's probably fine. I just like to make things look nice. So I got a little wire loom I'm going to put on this. And then I'll pull it that direction here. This is pretty much done as far as wiring goes now. I got to wire it over to the switch now, which is on my switch panel over there. That'll create the power. Another thing too is you can buy individual switches for these boats, or for these pumps, excuse me. They do sell them. I happen to have a 4-panel switch with one open space left on it, so I'm going to go ahead and wire it to my 4-panel switch, and that'll be my on and off for my washdown pump. So went and popped this out. It wasn't worth much showing. I did the same thing. I got the heat connectors on there. This switch happens to have plugs, so I was able to plug the power into that, and then I was able to. I have a. You can't really see. It's really hard to see back here, but I have a ground a block back here. Block meaning it has about 8 different spots where I can put the ground wire on. So that's done. I'm gonna go ahead and get this back together now, and we're gonna go give it a shot. I think it's gonna work good. I'm happy with it.
Oh yeah, we're down here in the Clackamas River. We're gonna give it a little shot, a little squirt, see what happens. Make sure we're working right.
All right, I heard it spool up there, and it stopped pumping. So that means it's primed up. So oh yeah, look at that.
Well, that's pretty good.
Not bad.
Heck yeah.
A lot of leaves in the water, so I guess if it was stopped pumping, it's probably a leaf this time of year. But got a little lock on it here, which is kind of nice. So if you're just kind of hosing it around, I just figure that out and unpop that. Got adjustment here on this guy too, but as you can see, my boat, a little dirt in there. And obviously, if you were doing this while you're out in the water, you want to utilize, make sure you have a bilge pump so you can pump the water back out. That's putting a fair amount of water out there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no,
I was actually really impressed. I didn't think it was going to be. I mean, I know it was going to be a good pump, but I just didn't know if the pressure-wise. I thought maybe you had to go with a larger one, but I think this is a good size for this boat. I mean, it's putting a fair amount of water out of it.
Oh, that's perfect.
You see, I had a little bit of egg stains there. It's looking pretty good getting it off there.
Yeah, well, the river looks pretty too.
It does, yeah.
Makes me want to go fishing. But all right, so you know what? we're out here on one of these rivers and you see Jake in his boat, remember he's got a big squirt gun, so watch it.
This would be fun. It's summertime too, so that probably wouldn't hurt a friend when it's, you know, cold outside, but someone's gonna get this sooner or later.